When it comes to business, one of the big questions still remains, how can we get people motivated to do things? Or more importantly, how can we get people motivated and sustain that motivation for them to be able to do great work? Great work beyond their simple job descriptions and roles. How can we get them inspired and to sustain high levels of effort towards innovation, towards improvement, and towards excellence? That's a big question. Essentially, how can we make clever happen? Because what we know so far is we've got a bunch of tools that are fine, smart goal setting and all that stuff. That's fine for predictable behaviours. It's fine for formulating tasks with predictable outcomes. But the world is changing fast, and the world that we're moving into, the future of work, requires much more collaboration and creativity, which requires a different tool set if we want to sustain and build and amplify motivation. And management structures are going to need to become much flatter and less hierarchical, with more reliance on self-driven, autonomous work as people work more remotely. How we get collaborative, creative, forward-focused progress out of that, and how we can sustain the motivation to do great work for the future of work, is the key question here. Because the current tools we've got just aren't cut to the job. And most of us still kind of exist in this folklore of motivation. We still subscribe to severely outdated beliefs that if you believe in your ability to achieve, you'll succeed, or if you just work on clarifying and getting a crystal clear vision, it's all going to magically happen and motivation will be unlocked. What we know is it's quite different now. And there's a big gap between where we are and where we want to be. There always will be. And so for some tasks, the classic tools will work, but this future of work we're moving to, if we want to unlock epic progress, we need to shift our tools. I love the way academics describe this gap. They call it the constructive discontent between your current state and your desired future state. The secret ingredient, the key to success, the key to all success, is actually doing the work. It's like Thomas Edison once said, genius is 1% inspiration, 99% perspiration. And I think that we spend far too much time in the inspiration space when it comes to motivation. Instead of making the 99% bit inspiring, instead of actually making the work bit work. You see, I think we've got it backwards. Most of us try to motivate people from the inside out. We go and look at their attitudes, we look at their goals, we look at their beliefs. And that carries with it an assumption that there's something needs to be fixed internally. I don't think that's the case. I think if you want to fix motivation, you fix the work. You design the work to be inherently motivating. This is what we call motivation design. And so I get really excited about this. I did a whole PhD in this motivation. I used to be that guy. I used to speak at schools, and I was that motivational speaker that would walk out and use all the classic cliches like, Roger Bannister, before he broke the 4-minute mile, no one thought it was possible, now it's blah, blah, blah. And I cringe to look back on it. In fact, one of the most frustrating things you can do is put me in front of many motivational speakers if they're still touting 1980s beliefs, because stuff has changed, and we have a much more sophisticated understanding of how motivation works and how you can design the parameters to inspire and sustain great effort and excellence. And one of the key innovators in this space, one of the key groups of people who really get this are game designers. Just think about it. Right now, more than 500 million people spend more than 7 billion hours each week playing online video games with a level of focused, creative, collaborative engagement that we just do not see at work. How can we take the best elements of this and apply it to real-world projects so you can unlock epic progress towards important projects and goals? That's the big question that excites me. I look at what essentially makes games: goals, rules, and feedback. A good game is a goal-driven, challenge-intense, feedback-rich experience geared towards making progress. I think projects should be the same. And in fact, the way I see life is there's this infinite game that consists of many finite games. And if we get the game design right, if we get our head in the game, we can lift our game, we can change the game, we can make this game work better to unlock epic progress. One of the breakthrough ideas from the Harvard Business Review in 2010 was asking this very question: how do we get people motivated to do things? How do we get employees enthusiastic about doing the work? They asked this question of over 600 managers from all different industries, different levels, and the one thing that they said was recognition for good work, and it's a good answer. They all had good answers to choose from. Luckily, they didn't choose incentives and rewards, but that's still how many people still operate. They think that they need to pay for performance, which is fine, again, for predictable work, but gosh, if you try to pay for performance for something that requires creativity and collaboration, you're probably going to collapse that and it will backfire on you. So we need to move better than this, but here's what the researchers did. They thought, okay, managers, you think it's recognition of good work? Here's a novel idea. Why don't we actually ask the employees themselves? And so they tracked a whole heap of employees over several years, analysing over 12,000 journal entries to find what correlated to high levels of motivation for them. And for them, the number one thing, it's actually what the managers ranked dead last, but the number one thing was a clear sense of progress. The more visibility we can get around progress, the more motivated people are. And it makes sense. The lower the latency between effort and meaningful feedback, the more likely you are to put in more effort. If you can see how your stuff is contributing to something bigger than yourself, you're more likely to keep at it. Combine this with the goals, rules, and feedback of game design and our modern understanding of motivation, mastery, autonomy, and purpose, then we can actually design work that's going to unlock epic motivation and progress and help us to build for the future of work. So I'm very excited about this, as you can probably tell. And if you'd like to learn more, please join me on my epic quest to liberate the world from poorly designed work. You can find out more at drjasonfox.com.